Ma and Pa Kent, created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. First appearance, historical, Action Comics 1, June 1938, current version, Man of Steel 1, June 1986. History. Jonathan Kent and Martha Clark both grew up in the quiet community of Smallville, Kansas. Jonathan lived on a family farm and became a farmer himself as an adult. Jonathan and Martha knew each other since childhood and fell in love with each other. While their friends and family assumed they would get married someday, Jonathan did not actually propose. Then Jonathan left Smallville to serve in World War II. He was stationed in the Pacific and was reported missing in action. The people of Smallville assumed Jonathan was dead, but he actually was being held captive in a Japanese prison camp. In Jonathan's absence, the head of the Smallville's richest family, Old Man Feldman, put pressure on Martha Clark's father in an attempt to gain control of the Clark's General Store. Feldman's son Dan thwarted the attempted takeover, and after his father died, proposed to Martha. Apparently, Martha knew that Dan Feldman was dying of lung cancer, and she felt sorry for him. With Jonathan gone, Martha accepted the proposal and married Dan Feldman. Jonathan finally returned to Smallville after learning of Martha's marriage. Martha explained that Dan Feldman had had lung cancer for years, though it was now in remission. Feldman told Jonathan that he knew that the cancer would eventually kill him, telling Jonathan that Martha deserved better than marriage to a dying man. Feldman asked Jonathan to take Martha away from him. Although Jonathan was still in love with Martha, he was shocked by Feldman's suggestion. But not long afterward, Feldman died in Martha's arms, asking her to build a new life for herself. Martha had asked Feldman not to leave her any of his money, although he did bequeath to her a 10-acre area of property that she liked. 6 months after Feldman's death, Jonathan proposed to her, and they were married 6 months later. Jonathan and Martha's marriage was a happy one, and Jonathan worked contentedly on his own farm, but they never had any children of their own. After Martha's third miscarriage, her doctor advised her not to try to have any more. As if in answer to their prayer, one night a year later, Jonathan and Martha saw a bright light falling from the sky. Investigating, they found a spacecraft with a baby inside. Jonathan suspected correctly that the baby might be from another planet, but since the infant looked entirely human, he and Martha decided that he was an Earth-born baby who had been subjected to some insane experiment. The Kents decided to raise the child as their own and named him Clark, after Martha's maiden name. The Kents' isolation on their farm that winter enabled them to convince their friends months later that Clark was their natural child. Clark had actually been sent to Earth by his true father Jor-El from the planet Krypton just before its destruction. Clark had no superhuman powers as an infant, but as he grew older he began to develop them, much to the Kents' astonishment. They kept Clark's unusual abilities secret. After a football game during which the boy took unfair advantage of his schoolmates, Jonathan took Clark to the site where the spacecraft lay hidden and told him how they had found him as an infant. Jonathan told Clark that he had been given his great powers for a nobler purpose than to win in sporting events. Stunned by the revelation of his true origin, Clark decided to devote the use of his superhuman powers to the good of humanity. Clark soon left Smallville after revealing the secret of his superhuman abilities to his closest friend Lana Lang. Clark spent the next 5 years mastering his powers and secretly using them to help other people, to save lives and to prevent disasters. He was finally forced to use his superpowers in public in order to prevent the crash of a NASA spaceplane. Mobbed after the rescue, Clark fled before he could be identified. He went back to Smallville to seek guidance from his parents. Inspired by the costume superheroes of the 1940s, Jonathan Kent came up with the idea that Clark should adopt a costume secret identity in which he could publicly use his powers for good. Clark and his foster parents thus devised his new identity of Superman, taking the name that reporter Lois Lane, who had been aboard the spaceplane, had given her mysterious rescuer. It was Martha who created Superman's first costume, using Clark's own suggestions. Clark and his foster parents also decided on the ways in which Clark would conceal his resemblance to the unmasked Superman, such as by wearing glasses. Ever since, Jonathan and Martha Kent have been valuable sources of emotional support for Superman. They are his most trusted confidants, to whom he can always turn for advice and understanding. The Kents are genuinely good, self-sacrificing people with a strong sense of morality. They brought Clark up to believe just as strongly in their system of moral values, thus enabling him to overcome the temptations to misuse his enormous power. More than anyone else, Jonathan and Martha Kent are responsible for Superman's becoming the greatest hero and champion of justice on Earth.